Welcome back to the Communities of Character. I'm Jennifer Hogan, former high school principal and program director with the Hope Institute. Last month, we brought you inside the Hope Institute Network Summit through a series of conversations with nationally recognized voices like Dr. Tom Lacona, Hope Institute co-founder Drayton Neighbors, and Alabama State Superintendent Dr. Eric Mackey. And together, they reminded us why character matters, why culture matters, and why leadership is always teaching something. And this month, we're staying at the Network Summit, but we're shifting our focus because while it's inspiring to hear from researchers and founders and state leaders, some of the greatest wisdom also comes from the educators who have spent decades living this work every single day. In today's episode, you'll hear two conversations with women whose influence has shaped generations of students and educators. First, you'll meet Jupie Lindley, a longtime teacher at Cahaba Heights Elementary, whose career is a reminder that character isn't built through grand gestures. It's built through thousands of everyday interactions with children. Then you'll hear from Sue Grogan. She was the longtime principal at Shades Cahaba Elementary, Alabama's first national school of character. And Sue reflects on what it takes to build a culture that lasts, why adult relationships matter just as much as student programs, and how leadership rooted in character creates a legacy that extends far beyond a single school year. And although these conversations come from different perspectives, one from the classroom and one from the principal's office, they point to the very same truth, that a healthy school culture is never accidental. So whether you're leading an entire district, teaching 20 students, coaching a team, or simply looking for encouragement as you prepare for another school year, I think you'll hear something today that reminds you why this work matters. So let's jump into these conversations from the Hope Institute Network Summit. We are in for a treat. We have Miss Lindley here on the podcast to talk with us, and I'm so excited to talk with you today because, as I understand it, you're about to retire after 44 years as a kindergarten teacher. Yes. That's amazing.
I always wanted to teach first grade, and now kindergarten's like first grade. You still have to read, know your letters and sounds. So it's been great.
So what have you seen change in kindergartners from when you first started until now?
Well, at first it was, the standards have changed. So at first it was almost like babysitting, just a lot of play, which is great. And because they learn through playing, but now the standards are high. Mm-hmm. We write sentences, we make stories, they read on a D-level book or higher, but we still have fun. I have a Christmas tree in my room. We keep up all year long, and we make ornaments for every season of the year.
So let's talk about character education in kindergarten, because you're here at the Hope Institute Network. Your school is a part of Hope Institute, and you're implementing character education in your school. Yes. What does that look like in a kindergarten classroom?
Well, we have our Heights heroes. And to be a Heights hero, you are safe, you are respectful, and you do your best. And we talk about that. And we have our character traits we go over: kindness, grit, integrity, and all the others. And we visit those 2 a month, but we revisit them all during the day. And when we line up from lunch, I'll say, show service, and we clean up our table. And if they see something else that needs to be cleaned up, they're proud. And we're a family, and they treat each other with kindness and respect. And so
that's really cool. What do you hear from the parents about what you're teaching in terms of character education in your classroom and what they're seeing at home? Is it carrying over?
It is. And they'll say, sometimes parents get corrected by the children because they say, well, Miss Lindley does it this way. And I'll say, sorry, I'll be the bad guy.
That's so great. Do you ever have kids come back that maybe you taught in the past that come back and visit you, and you get to see how they've progressed? And
I do. And I've been at the same school 41 years. I've been at Cahaba Heights 41 years of the 44. So I have a little girl this year. I'm teaching her and her big brother and sister. I taught her daddy and her 2 uncles.
Oh,
so I've had the whole family. So I have kids that come back. The majority of my Facebook friends are kids I taught. They're adults now. I lived in the community a long, long time, the whole time. So.
And so not only do you get to have your kids come back and visit, but you get to see the kids, since you have them in kindergarten, as they progress through elementary school.
I do.
Especially as you're all working on these core values and this common language and the character initiatives. Talk to us about that, what that's like.
It's great. And we've started a house system. We have 5 Habas and, or 5 houses. Each house is named after a character trait. And inside the house, we have little Habas. And inside those little houses, each Haba has kids from every grade level. And the kids see each other and high five each other and hug, just passing in the hall, where it used to just be strangers passing in the hall, you know? So, and we do morning meetings where we talk about and give them opportunities to express if they've experienced something and how they would handle it. It's really great.
It is. And I love those house systems with the different grade levels, and it creates such a sense of community within your school.
This was our first year. We're going slow, but it's going to be great.
Well, sometimes you got to go slow to go fast.
Make sure we do it right all the way through.
That's right. So thinking about your retirement, and you're about to walk away from something you've been doing for 44 years.
And that I love.
Yes, pouring into these students. What is the legacy that you leave behind? So when kids talk about Miss Lindley, their kindergarten teacher, what is it that you hope that they'll say about you?
That I love them, I was proud of them, and I always expected them to do their best, whatever they do. But I love them no matter what choices they make. And once you're my baby, you'll always be my baby.
Oh, what a great legacy to share. And congratulations to you on your retirement. Thank you for being a part of Hope Institute and pouring character into these kids as we build this next generation. Thank you so much. One of the things that I loved about talking with Miss Lindley was how naturally she described character. She never talked about it as a program or an initiative. She talked about it as relationships, like everyday moments that shape children over time. And that really sets up our next conversation, because if Miss Lindley gave us the classroom perspective, Sue Grogan shows us what happens when those same beliefs become the culture of an entire school. And she was the longtime principal of Shades Cahaba Elementary. It was Alabama's first national school of character. And Sue has spent years helping educators build environments where character isn't just taught, it's experienced. Let's listen. Oh, we are in for such a treat today. We have Sue Grogan with us, and she was the principal at Shades Cahaba. And correct me if I'm wrong, Sue, was Shades Cahaba the first school in Alabama to be named a National School of Character?
Yes, it was in 2006.
That is incredible, and it's amazing. And we also know that Shades Cahaba was recently named a National School of Character again, which really shows the sustainability of what you started at Shades Cahaba. So let's kind of go back to the beginning.
Okay.
How did you get involved in character education? Like what brought you into that?
There were several things that happened in a short period of time that set us on our journey to be a character ed initiative school. It was like the perfect aligning of the stars. One of the things that was unlikely, I believe, was the Alabama Reading Initiative came along our way. We were asked to be in the second year cohort for that. And that opportunity showed us the value of focused components of a program and shared vocabulary so that we all understood through common professional development what the components of good reading instruction looks like, and that we had a vocabulary that we all understood. And I believe those two strong points were kind of a foundation for our next initiative, which was character education.
So you took those same principles and applied it towards your character education initiative.
Yes, I did. So about 2 or 3 years later, after that experience, 4 of my young teachers came to me. They had been hired within about a year of one another, and they had had enough opportunities to kind of get their rhythm as a classroom teacher so that they could look more school-wide. And they said to me that they would love to have a chat one afternoon about their children. They started with saying, we have sweet children, we have kind-natured children, we have smart children. And often they make the right choice, a good choice, they're watching. But occasionally, when no one is watching them, their respect for one another, their responsibility for their own actions, their manners in the lunchroom leave a bit to be desired. And they wanted to have a chance to talk to some of the seasoned teachers who had taught for quite a number of years. And they were also interested in maybe developing a program or opportunities for kids to be able to practice respect and responsibility. About the same time, my extended day director, Melinda Hollingsworth, came to me. She was designing her summer program. And she said, I have experience with from a YMCA child care program that she had worked with a group of phrases, rules perhaps, though they don't feel like rules. They're positive phrases that help those children in the Y program make good choices about their behavior. She said, I would love to bring that to Shades Cahaba. I have an idea of some of what some of the phrases need to look like and feel like, but I want the children to be involved in that so that they will help me decide about the kinds of reminders that they feel like would be important. And I think we could call it the Shades Cahaba way. Those two experiences with young teachers coming and with Melinda coming with children were certainly the first steps on our journey of putting intention to living well together and making good choices.
That is incredible. I mean, it really is. I'm just awestruck hearing this story of these two events just happen to be, coincidentally, they come together around the same time. It says something about your leadership to me that these young teachers would come to you and propose this idea, but how powerful it is when it comes from your teachers. As you well know, it's not a top-down initiative. This is very much a grassroots type initiative coming from your teachers.
Yes. And the children as well.
Yes.
And I think that is why the sustainability has been there now for 25 years.
That's amazing.
We have 3 different principals in that 25-year span, but the passion of the program started and has remained with those who live and learn and teach in the walls of that building, no matter who is in the principal's office.
That's incredible.
And I think that is the richness of it.
That's awesome. And, it makes me think about the work we do at Hope Institute because we come alongside schools and they create their own vocabulary and their own core values and their own plan. And we just are there to support them in that work. Because what you created at Shades Cahaba may look very different from even another elementary school in your district. So could you talk about that? Like, did you have other elementary schools in your district to ask, hey, Sue, what's going on at your school? How are you doing this?
We did. And because we were kind of the pioneer in the state.
Very much.
But using the character.org organization as a kind of a touch point for us. And the beauty of that whole emphasis was there are 11 principals, but it is important for each school to address them in a way that makes sense for their community. And that was so powerful to us that it gave us a guideline, but it also gave us the autonomy of being able to design it the way that we felt like was important. So when we shared this is what works at Shades Cahaba, we would encourage you to take a look at these components, but then certainly design it for where you are. I believe everybody is on a journey with character education. Back 25 years ago, people didn't talk about it that much. It was a little bit of a novel idea, whereas not so much now. There were not many books written about it. There was not much professional development written about it. So I do feel like we were one of the pioneers, especially in this area.
You most definitely were.
But I do also believe that you don't need to look at the destination. I don't think you ever arrive. You're always on the journey. And each school's journey looks a bit different.
Mm-hmm. Such great advice. And I just have one more question for you. Now that you've been gone from the school for 13 years and you're into retirement and you have a different perspective and a different view about the school, is there anything you would go back and do differently looking back along this journey?
I hadn't thought about that in a long time. That's a good question. I believe that one of the strongest components as you are on the journey is the reflection part. Reflecting on what works, reflecting on what needs to be tweaked a bit, even reflecting on the things that you need to give up and that you don't need to emphasize as much. Perhaps it's gone stale. Reflecting on what you need to add and how you need to grow. Reflecting on, do we look different than we did 5 years before? If so, are we better? I loved hearing Tom McKenna this morning talk about the school that had 2 touchstones, and it was, we want to do our best work and we want to be our best self. So I think maybe doing even more reflection than we did. We certainly ask ourselves a lot of questions, and we looked at our data like test scores and attendance records and discipline reports. But I think we could have been even more reflective. I do remember the day when we ask ourselves, are we using a list of activities for children to practice good character, or is it really systemic? Is it really who we are now? And we kept going back to that phrase, we want children to make good choices, even when no one is watching.
That's so good, so powerful. Thank you so much. And it's just a tribute to your legacy as a leader in that school that they have still sustained that work. And we just appreciate you spending time with us today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Y'all, I am just loving these summer episodes and conversations from the Network Summit, and every conversation just builds on the last. Every leader brings a different perspective, and then together they tell you one larger story about what it takes to build cultures of character. So as you prepare for a new school year, I hope these conversations remind you that culture isn't created all at once. Whether you're leading a classroom, a team, a school, or supporting students in countless other ways, just never underestimate the influence you have. The words you choose, the example you set, and the way you show up each day, it shapes the experience others have long before they remember a lesson or a meeting. Thank you for spending this time with us. And if this episode encouraged you, would you share it with another educator who's passionate about building a culture where people can truly flourish? And be sure to connect with us on Instagram. Our handle's @coc.podcast. We'd love to hear what resonated with you and just continue the conversation there. So until next time, keep building character in your community. One interaction, one relationship, and one decision at a time. Thanks for listening to Communities of Character. We'll see you next time.